The South Central Tips and Tricks webinar. Today we're going to cover Dimension 2.0, and we'll cover a couple of different aspects of this as we go through this. Now, the very first thing I do want to point out is Dimension 2.0, and that helps if I get on the slideshow. The slides will advance. Dimension 2.0 introduces a new feature called Dimension Command. Now, Dimension Command is a licensed feature that is added in that gives you the ability to control your firewall, make changes to configuration right from the Dimension logging and reporting piece. So today I want to make sure we just focus on upgrading to Dimension 2.0, getting that up and running, and seeing the differences in Dimension 2.0 versus the 1.x versions, some of the new things you can do in there. And then for the next webinar, we will cover the Dimension Command. That is going to be a little bit longer webinar, and it will dive a little deeper into the new features, changes under the hood that enable that, all of those pieces. So with that, couple of things to remember. Since Dimension Command is a licensed feature, you will buy a feature key for that. You will apply it to a single firewall, and that firewall inside of its feature key will have the ability to do the Dimension Command stuff. Dimension 2, the logging and reporting, is still free. Now, there's a big gotcha along with that you want to be aware of. We've had a few people stumble across it and find it the hard way. Now, the gotcha with that is really that logging and reporting is still free, but this is straight out of the release notes. We can accept log messages and generate reports for any appliance that runs FireWare 11x or higher, but here's the gotcha. It has to have a current support subscription. We will accept log messages for anything that doesn't have a current support subscription for the first 30 days, and after 30 days, those devices will no longer log and report. So be aware of that. If you've got a box that does not have a current support contract, what we used to call the live security, we've changed the name on that just to call it support to eliminate some confusion there. But if you do not have a support subscription or a live security subscription on your box, after 30 days your logging and reporting will turn off. So if you want to continue getting the logging and reporting out of Dimension on a box that it has no valid contract on it, you'll want to stick with Dimension 1.3 as the highest release you can do there. So this is just one of those things that's buried in the release notes, so I want to make sure we point that out to everybody. So let's talk about installation and upgrading the Dimension server. And I am going to switch back and forth through several windows here. But right off the bat, if you go to the WatchGuard support page and then go to the software downloads page, you'll see pick current XTM device. Dimension is going to be the very first link, and that'll get you in here. Make sure to take a look at the release notes. It's got all of the upgrade instructions. It's going to talk about new features, everything that you will want to be aware of on this release. So I'm currently running VMware as my back-end virtualization system, so I have downloaded ahead of time. We won't have to wait for it today. If you're doing a brand new installation, if you want to start over fresh and clean, you can do the Dimension 2.0 new installation. There is also an upgrade file that is a little bit quicker download, 60 megs versus the 400 and something megs of the full OVA file. This is, as you can see from my download screen, it's a TGZ file that is going to be used to upgrade. So actually upgrading the box, I've just stood up an older version of Dimension. I'm currently using 2.0 for all of my lab stuff. So once you get logged into the box from the home screen to run the upgrade, new installation we won't cover. We've covered those in previous webinars. But running the upgrade, on Dimension 1.3, we want to go to the administration menu up here and hit System Settings. Right from this menu, you're going to have an upgrade button, and it's going to ask you to browse out to that TGZ file. This is Dimension 2.0 Update 2. There's been a couple of minor bug fixes that were added into that. And so we have that available. We hit OK. and it's going to go through and run the upgrade process for you automatically. This takes, depending on the size of your database, 2 or 3 minutes. It shouldn't take too long as you run through that. Just so you know, there is a new database schema in this. You will get a new setup wizard if you're doing a brand new installation. So one of the first things that it does is it gives you an IP address setting automatically. In the old wizard, that was the last thing that it did, was set the IP address, and then once the wizard was done, it gave you a link to browse to the new website. On the new setup wizard, it will change that IP immediately. You then browse to the new website, then it finishes out the wizard. It also lets you use fully qualified domain names, a few other things in the upgrade. So as this is running in the background, we'll keep running through our slides here. I promise, as always, no death by PowerPoint, but we will use this to help me remember what I want to talk and tell you about. Very first thing that you're going to see in Dimension is you're going to have a new look and feel. You're going to have they're very proud of responsive design, so that depending on which size screen you're looking at when you log in, the menus will grow and expand. It'll try and fit itself to whatever screen you're looking at. The menus will shrink and grow from side to side. So let's so this guy is still running the upgrade here. So let's jump into a box that is already running Dimension 2.0, and I'm just going to log out, log back in real quick so you see the new look and feel. Very first thing you're going to see is some changes in this, that new color scheme, some new tabs, some new information through here. Now, when you get into any of your configuration tasks, one of the things that you'll notice the difference between this one and the old one is they now just put a gear up in the upper right-hand corner instead of the administration menu that you saw before, and we'll jump into and look at some of the changes in those menus as well. This home screen gives you a few new bits of information that we didn't have before. So very first thing you're going to notice in here is you're going to have a new column that says Managed. This is your home screen that tells you which of your boxes you're running through the Dimension command, which we'll cover next time. If it says no, it actually means that it was under management for Dimension command at one point. If it says disabled, it means it was never added through the Dimension command. So it gives you the IP address, serial number of the box, lets you know what version, what model you're looking at. Some of these other things that you'll see out here is health, license, and a map. These health pages and the license page, if your box is not under Dimension command, these fields are going to be blank. So I want to focus today on this T10 that we're looking at here. This one is not under the Dimension command. So my CPU usage is blank. This M400 was taken out of command, so it has some memory of stuff that was there before, but it's showing you 0% because it's not reporting that on things anymore. Your license is going to show you when your different pieces, the subscription services, when those expire. Without Dimension command, you don't track that. The map is a cool little feature here that will show you as you zoom in where your boxes are located. So I can see this one is an XTM26. The system will try and do a geolocation for you so that it will map your IP address, and based on your IP, where is that in the world. Now you'll notice it shows I've got a box somewhere over here in Western China. That's that T10 we're looking at. And for my ISP, my geolocation lookup doesn't work. So what I have to do is I have to come back here to the list. If we go into highlight the T10 here and then hit edit, we can actually put in the latitude and longitude. And you can go to Google Maps and find exactly where you're at and then look up your latitude and longitude. One of the things that I wanted to point out, and the reason I put that box over in China, is for those of us in the Western Hemisphere, our longitude is always negative. So when you put that in, make sure your longitude is negative. And once I save this, it's going to go out and update that device for me. And now if I go back to my map, the box is no longer in China. It's now back here in Missouri. So one of the things to keep in mind is the map, this is all the farther it scrolls in. So in my particular case, both of those boxes are right on top of each other, so I only see the one. So it's debatable whether how useful that feature is. If you've got boxes spread across multiple states, then okay, at least it'll give you an idea of where your boxes sit. So while we've been talking here, this other box, the temporary one that I stood up to do the upgrade, it finished the upgrade. Once it finishes the upgrade, it takes you right back to the login page. You can log back in, and it takes you right back to where you were, where you have the upgrade options, that system diagnostics, system setting page. So from here, make sure all your services are running, look at your users, make sure everything is okay. And that's really all it takes to get the Dimension 2.0 upgrade working in your environment. So let's just jump back here, make sure I didn't forget anything. One of the other big changes that you'll see in here is you now have, rather than a switch to read-write mode, you'll have a lock and an unlock at the top of any page that is used. So if I come in here to my configuration pages where I want to make changes to the firewall or to the Dimension server, in 1.x versions we had a blue button or a green button in the upper right hand corner that said switch to read-write mode. Now we just click the lock to make the changes, and from here you can get in and do whatever you need. Edit your settings, interface settings, time settings, any of that stuff, but it just wants you to make sure you click the lock. That basically locks that page for you so other admins can't step on your toes and make changes over the top of each other. So these are the different pages that have that feature in there. This is just something they point out real quick that says it's the same look and feel as the web UI now. So you'll see some of that integrated here. I'm going to skip over some of the Dimension command slides real quick and jump into the a couple of the changes here. Visibility integration, what you'll see is you can actually go into, as you're looking at the list of domains, if you want to add something to the block sites list, you'll be able to do that right from here. The device page enhancements, I covered those real quick already as we were jumping through this. So again, you know, not to bore you with the slides, we'll keep jumping through these. So this is going to be one of the big changes that you'll see in the administration side of this, is now under the Gearbox, rather than have scheduled reports, your first entry here is going to be manage tasks. So when I click on that, that actually gives us the ability to do some additional things in addition to just scheduling tasks. So I'm going to click the lock button here so that I can get in, and now I can add something. Now right off the bat, I'll be able to schedule a report. I'll also be able to back up historical data or restore historical data. So if you want to do a scheduled backup, and actually what I want to do is I want to jump right back over here. This is a box that actually has some tasks running and some stuff already set up, actually has some real data in it. So when we look at this, again, click the lock, read-write mode. I can now go in, I can add a scheduled backup. If I try and hit the backup right now, the first thing it's going to tell me is you've got to go into your system settings and set up your backup location first before you can do anything with that. But if you want to look at some of the tasks that have already run, you can remove those. You can hit the edit button, and that will get in and let you see which devices you've set this up for, who you're emailing it to, which reports that you want to send out. So it works just the same way as your previous version did, but you also now have, if a task is running in the background, you can hit cancel. If it is, I don't have any that are running currently. If you have a task that maybe gets stuck or it takes a long time, you decide you don't want to run that anymore, you now have a cancel button in here as well. From the other information here, we can see If you click directly on the task name, you'll see when it's scheduled to go, when the task was created, just that it's in a waiting status right now for the next time it's going to run. These run every day at midnight. One of the nice things that they did when you're doing these scheduled reports is it used to be when we did the setup of the task, it was set, your only choice was daily, weekly, or monthly. So I need to find a name that I haven't used before, so we'll just call this one Demo 1. We'll say it's all devices. We're going to send the report in an email. Type in a valid email address before you try and hit the plus sign. And I'll go on next. Now, in the past, it was run the reports daily, weekly, or monthly. Now you have a now option, which tells it to run once. You also have a start time. So if you want your reports, rather than being scheduled at midnight every night, if you want them to run at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and do it that way, you can set that up so that they will be set up to run at a specified time. You know, the boss gets in, he wants to see the reports generated first thing that morning. He doesn't care what happened between midnight. He wants to see 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. You now have the ability to actually schedule a time for these reports to run. Or say you've got a backup running at midnight and you don't want to try and generate reports while you're running a backup, change the start time of this or change the start time of your backup, and you'll be able to see those run at those particular times. So jumping back through here, just some examples of scheduling a report. Backing up the data works the same way. You can also do a scheduled restore, although I don't know why you would ever really run a scheduled restore, but if your heart desires it, there you go. You can see the status on them by clicking on them, some of the other things. Another big change that we've made to the Dimension 2 server is static IP address mapping. Now what I mean by this is in here, and let's actually just jump into Dimension and go back to server management under my configuration and the configuration window, and I'm sorry, the IP address mapping window. So we've always had the ability to do a static IP address map. So we can click the lock to make changes so that if I ever see the IP address 10.20.30.11 appear in my log information, this is my XCS, my email filtering appliance. This doesn't ever have a username associated with it. I want it to show up with the host name. I can put a static map in here. Now, these maps have always been global. And so in version 2.0, what we've given you the ability to do is do maps on a firewall by firewall basis. So you have a global map that if you want it to appear across all of your firewall reports, you can set it there. Or you can do an individual device map, and you can set up a device IP address mapping. Say you're hosting this for one of your customers, a client somewhere, that they all have the same internal IP address scheme, but they have different server names at different locations, different appliances, so you want to make sure that it's reflected correctly on their individual firewall reports. You can do an individual device map and put in that device, the serial number, set all that up so that you have individual maps per IP address or per firewall that maps those IP addresses in that individual report instead of across the board in a global mapping. So nice little feature in there. So a couple of other things. It's now easier to generate a public certificate. So if you want to make this accessible to the outside world, you want to put a GoDaddy or a network solution certificate on the front of it. It will, it's a little easier to do that. I'm not going to go through that whole process now. If you have questions, drop a note and I can get you some detailed steps on that. The other big change is the postfix, and I'm going to skip through the certificate stuff. In the previous version, there was just a simple mail relay that said, hey, if there is a box, if we need to send a report, if we need to send a notification out, whatever the case may be, you just filled in the information of your SMTP server and it set that out. It was a fire and forget. So it is, if there was any problem with that email going through, if it didn't do anything, if there was a problem from the Dimension server and the email didn't go out, it did not ever retry it. So the current Python module that they were using loses email notification if it cannot connect to the SMTP server. Postfix gives us the benefit of having a mail queue. So if a delivery attempt fails, Postfix will keep trying to deliver. Where the old version was a fire and forget, Dimension 2.0 will continue to queue up that mail and keep trying to get it out and send it through. So you will see it. There is a diagnostics page in there where you can check your queue, flush the queue if you need to, send a test email, all of that information. But now behind the scenes, it's a little bit more reliable for you. So let's talk about some of the new reports that are available in the Dimension 2.0. The first one is going to be associated with the bandwidth and time quotas. Now, if you got in on the webinar for the 11.10 software, you saw that we have now the ability to assign bandwidth quotas either by time or by usage. And so now, inside of Dimension 2.0, Dimension 1.3 had no ability to report on the quotas. In the Dimension 2.0, you will get log messages and you will get reports about quotas in here. So in the log manager, your traffic tab will show you if anything's been denied for quotas. The event tab in the log manager, let me jump back over here. We actually have to get into a firewall that's got some data on it. So let's look at the log manager for this guy. If you have events, that will actually show you if quotas have been exceeded in here. I have set my quotas up so that they are huge. Just so you know, the quotas that I'm using, I can do 97 gigabytes a day of transfers and 23 hours and 59 minutes per time. I just wanted to have a quota running so that you can actually see what it does and then actually get some reports on that. So I've only had the quotas up and running since yesterday, so I won't get a whole lot of reporting available. But when we get in here, and it looks like I have not had my quotas running long enough to even generate a report on that. So we'll look at the slide then real quick. So under the device, you will see a denied quota report. I haven't ever denied any quotas as well, so that's another reason why I'm not seeing it. You will get a authentication report, has quota usage if you're doing that. Let's jump over and take a look at that. And it looks like, because I don't have authentication turned on, so this is not my main firewall that has the data in it, so we're not seeing some of these reports. Basically, your reports will disappear if it doesn't have any quota, if it doesn't have any information to display. So when I see that, I see you know, intrusions, because I've had intrusions where I don't see anything about antivirus incidents because there haven't been any. So we'll just continue to look through some of these. Report selection, you can get a denied quota summary report that can be emailed out to you. You'll also see in the policy map, you'll see that available for quotas as well. Another new report that's available is for your AP devices. You're going to have some new dashboards and some new reports on that. So you will be able to see down here details on average number of clients. You can see my AP is really not being used at this point. Let me just expand out the time just a little bit and see if we can get a little more data in here. And again, this is what happens when you move and set up new APs and everything. Nobody's using the new one yet. So, but this report will tell you average number of clients that you're getting, maximum clients, average transfer rate that people are doing. Since we don't have anybody using this guy, we're not going to see a whole lot of data here. So we have some additional information by SSID as well. Report enhancements, some of the other things, pivot details. So if we go into a report where we've got something that, for example, we might want to get a little more information on, say for example, denied packets. I do run my report for this time. We got to have a larger time period, so it's taking just a little bit longer to pull that up. But I can, if I want to get more details on what's the denied packets have been, you have now a View Details button that didn't exist before that actually gets you into and looks at line by line all of those denied packets. Does give you the option to export that out to a CSV file, so you can look at that through Excel and give you a little bit more ability to search and look at that. And so if you need that kind of information, if you're trying to track something down, that detail report is in here. So for the details, to get the summary reports, you can get it off alarms, denied packets, POP3, SMTP, DLP, web auditing, IPS, GAV, APT, undetected APTs, and web blocker. So all of those different reports, those summary reports, will have a pivot to details button in there available for you. So DLP, if you are running the data loss prevention, the DLP report now includes the policy name that's going to be there and available for you. Custom report template enhancements. Templates give you the ability to customize the reports, put your own logos and headers in there. You can now specify a page size. So if you've got somebody in Europe that uses A4 instead of letter size, you can create the reports that'll print nicely on them. So device group enhancements is the next thing. I'm going to run through these last few slides fairly quickly since we're getting close to the end of our time. You now have the ability to look at the log manager and the log search for groups of devices. And when I say groups of devices, let's come back up here to our home screen. The groups exist so that if you want aggregate reporting of your different firewalls, say you have a bunch of firewalls in one location, in another city, or a client that has several firewalls available, you can create a group. And we'll create one here real quick with we'll add one in here. This is just going to be called demo. Which devices do we want to be in the group? Let's do the M400 and the T10. We'll say okay, we can save that. Now when I go into this group, if I click on this demo group, I'm getting aggregate reporting across that group. So when I look at my executive dashboard, it's showing me the log information for both firewalls at once. This is helpful for a client that might have multiple locations where they've got a firewall. So the other thing, as we go in here, as you select the group, the log manager now has the ability to see both of those firewalls. Report generation, everything except for the dashboard reports were created individually and then aggregated together. Now it is the reports are faster because they get all of the data in it's aggregated when the database is queried. So it generates a single report instead of creating a bunch of reports and then combining it together. So these are the different group reports that are there and available to you. System diagnostic tools enhancements, there's just a few things in here under your system settings. In the past, we had a ping command in here. We now have, in addition to ping, you can do a trace route, you can do a DNS lookup, whether it's a record, MX record, any of those that you now have the ability to test right from here and run these tools. some of your basic networking stuff that you might do elsewhere. You can now do it from the Dimension server. Make sure it can talk to and communicate with the outside world. So we'll skip through examples of how to run a trace route and do a DNS lookup. Those are the big changes in the Dimension 2.0. So I know we're right at our 12:30 time. In fact, I've gone a couple of minutes over. Just want to make sure you guys are familiar with some of the changes and the difference. The big changes, the Dimension command that we introduced through 2.0, please come back for my webinar next month. We're going to talk about that. That's going to take probably a little bit longer to get in and look at some of the differences, some of the new features, some of the things that you can do with that. So as always, if you go out to YouTube and search for DGeisler, WGSE, on the YouTube page, that you will find all of the recordings. You can find the channel available out there. So DGeisler, if I could spell my own name, WGSE, you'll find all of the latest videos. This video, give me a day or so to get this converted, and it will be posted out there as well. The channel is actually called WG South Central Tips and Tricks, so you can get in and see all of the videos that we've recorded. Pass these on to your coworkers that didn't have a chance to come in. So once again, thank you all for your attendance and your attention. With that, I will turn things back over to Elaine.
Thank you, Dan. Great presentation as